Okay, so today we're diving into a story that's going to make you rethink those wedding invites. Like, seriously, RSVP, yes or no on this one. Picture this, Jessica, she's 25. Head over heels about marrying her fiancé, Daniel, who's 31. Sounds like the perfect love story, right?
Mhm.
Well, there's a little hiccup. Jessica's vegan. And she wants a few, plant-based options on the wedding menu. Pretty reasonable, right? But Daniel and his family are major meat lovers.
Mhm.
And they are putting up a fight that's like way bigger than the wedding cake.
Ah. It's funny how food, something we need to survive, becomes a battleground,
So,
especially in relationships. What seems like just, dietary choices can actually point to some deeper issues, don't you
oh,
think?
absolutely. And as we dig into Jessica's story, it's clear this isn't just some tofu versus steak debate. So Jessica and Daniel have been together long enough for their families to know each other. And things are pretty smooth sailing. Until bam, wedding planning hits the menu.
The menu, quite literally. I'm curious, what did Jessica propose? Was she like demanding an all vegan feast?
No, not at all. She just suggested having like 4 or 5 vegan dishes. Alongside the regular, meat-heavy options, she even offered to cover the costs for those extra dishes. Since she and her family are contributing financially to the wedding, seemed like a fair compromise, right?
Yeah, on the surface it does. Wanting a few dishes that fit your lifestyle at your own wedding doesn't seem out of line, especially when you're offering to pay. So, what did Daniel say?
Well, that's where things get interesting. Daniel and his mother, Linda, instantly shut the idea down. They're like, vegan food, that's not real food.
Yeah.
And they were worried about offending their guests. They even suggested that Jessica's vegan options should just be the typical, like, salads and appetizers.
Ugh, the way they said it sounds so dismissive, almost like they're belittling Jessica's choices. It makes you wonder if this is really about the food itself, or is there something more going on here?
Right, and their actions speak louder than words. Get this, Daniel and Linda go behind Jessica's back and completely cancel the vegan options she had already arranged. Talk about a breach of trust.
Whoa, that's a bold move. Especially since it's Jessica's wedding, and she's hoping to pay for it. This is bigger than just disagreeing about food. It brings up questions about respect communication and whose opinions are valued in this relationship.
Exactly. It's almost as if they're saying, your opinions don't matter because you're marrying into our family. Of course, Jessica confronts Daniel, first at his work, then at home. And this is where we see the cracks in their relationship start to show.
What happened during those confrontations? Did Daniel explain himself at all?
Nope. Instead of trying to understand, Daniel flips the script. He accuses Jessica of not considering his feelings, of creating a scene, and not accommodating his family.
Hold on a second. Wasn't Jessica trying to do exactly that by suggesting both meat and vegan options? It sounds like he's deflecting responsibility and making
Yeah.
Jessica the bad guy.
Yeah. You nailed it. Instead of taking responsibility for his actions, he's putting the blame on Jessica. And it gets even more complicated when Linda decides to join the party. She starts sending Jessica these accusatory messages, saying she's being selfish and inconsiderate. She even criticizes Jessica for having a my money, I paid for it mentality. Because, as Linda puts it, everything is shared now that they're getting married.
Wow, that's not helping. It seems like Linda is trying to control the relationship. This idea that everything becomes shared after marriage can be a problem if it's used to take away someone's independence.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to erase her as a person and make her fit into their perfect daughter-in-law mold, dietary choices and all. And get this, Daniel actually argues that Jessica's family should just deal with it. Eat salad for one night. It's just one meal, he says, like it's no big deal.
It's shocking how dismissive he is. It shows a real lack of understanding and empathy for Jessica and her family. Veganism isn't just about food, it's a lifestyle choice, often based on ethical and environmental reasons. To brush it off as just one meal is so disrespectful.
It's clear this has blown up into something way bigger than the food. What started as a simple request for a few vegan options has turned into a power struggle. And it shows a total lack of respect for Jessica's opinions and values.
Yeah, this whole thing seems to be a symptom of a bigger issue in their relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what happens next really shows how big the problem is. Stay with us. We'll be right back to break down the fallout from this wedding menu meltdown.
So Jessica's realizing this wedding drama is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, welcome to the family, but leave your values at the door.
Right, and it's not just about this one event, it's a pattern of behavior. The sources mention that this wedding menu thing was just the beginning. There have been other times when Daniel's family's opinions were more important than Jessica's, leaving her feeling like she didn't matter.
Like that time at the engagement party. Daniel's mom, Linda, insisted on having it at a steakhouse. Even though she knew Jessica was vegan, Jessica tried to compromise. suggested a different place with more options, but Linda wouldn't budge. And Daniel sided with his mom, of course. Jessica felt like her preferences were an afterthought.
Classic example of how these small decisions actually show the power dynamics in a relationship. It's like they're testing Jessica, seeing how much you'll compromise before pushing back.
And Daniel always choosing his family over Jessica's needs. That's a red flag. It shows he doesn't respect her as a person or her values. Makes you wonder if he can actually put her first in a marriage.
Totally. It's about loyalty and priorities. A healthy relationship needs partners who support and respect each other, even if it means disagreeing with their families.
You'd think Daniel, being older,
Mm.
would be able to see this and stand up for Jessica. But it's like he's afraid to challenge his family.
That fear could come from different places. Maybe he's afraid to disappoint them. Or maybe he's so used to it that he doesn't even realize it's a problem.
Whatever the reason. Him not standing up for Jessica says a lot about how committed he is to their relationship and what a real partnership means.
Exactly. This really shows how important open communication is in a relationship and clear expectations. Before getting married, couples need to talk about how they'll handle family, especially when it clashes with their values or lifestyle.
And it's not just talking about it. It's about actually doing something, setting boundaries, being willing to say, this is important to me, and you need to respect that, even if it means upsetting some family members.
Absolutely. It's about putting the relationship first, instead of keeping things the same with the family.
Jessica tried to talk to Daniel about this, but he got defensive and blamed her. He even said she was bringing up old stuff and using it against him, like he was trying to gaslight her into thinking her feelings weren't real.
Gaslighting is a form of manipulation, where someone makes you doubt yourself and your reality. Daniel's minimizing Jessica's feelings, so he doesn't have to take responsibility. By saying she's bringing up the past, he's deflecting from the real issue and blaming her.
Total manipulation. And it's super damaging to a relationship
Yeah.
because it destroys trust and creates an imbalance of power.
And sadly, it can be really subtle, hard to recognize when you're in it.
Yeah, it's like slowly chipping away at someone's confidence until they don't even trust themselves. Even worse, when it's coming from someone you love.
It's a betrayal of trust at its core. How did Jessica react to this? Did she let him silence her, or did she stand up for herself?
But this is where things take a turn. Jessica was shaken at first by Daniel's accusations and his family's pressure, but then she starts to see things clearly.
Sounds like she's reaching her breaking point.
Exactly. She realizes this isn't just about some vegan dishes. It's about something much bigger. Lack of respect, communication, and shared values. And she makes a decision that changes everything.
So Jessica has this realization about the relationship. What does she do? Try to fix things or call it quits?
She tries talking to Daniel one last time. Explains it's not about the food, it's about feeling respected and heard, but he just shuts her down, saying she's overreacting, making a big deal out of nothing.
He just doesn't get it. So focused on his family that he can't see he's hurting Jessica.
Exactly. And in that moment, facing that wall, Jessica makes a huge decision. She calls off the wedding.
Wow, that takes guts. Walking away from a relationship like that, especially after planning a whole wedding, it's never easy.
It wasn't. But Jessica realized staying would mean giving up her values, silencing herself, for a relationship that wasn't built on respect and understanding.
She chose self-respect over a future where she'd always be tiptoeing around her in-laws.
And it wasn't about the wedding or the food anymore. It was about knowing her worth and not settling for less.
It's a powerful reminder that sometimes walking away is the best thing you can do.
Jessica's story shows us how important it is to set boundaries, to know your worth, and to have the courage to say no when something doesn't feel right.
It also shows how crucial communication is in a relationship. If you can't talk openly and honestly about your needs, especially when it comes to family, it creates resentment and conflict.
It makes you think, how do we make sure our voices are heard in our relationships? How do we deal with those tricky family dynamics without giving up on what's important to us?
It takes work. Constant communication, compromise, and standing up for yourself, setting healthy boundaries and making sure your partner respects them.
And sometimes, like in Jessica's story, it means walking away when those boundaries are crossed.
Her journey was tough, but it's inspiring. She chose her own happiness over the pressure to conform.
As we wrap up today, we want you to remember this. You deserve to be in a relationship where your voice matters, where your needs are met, and your values are respected. Never be afraid to speak up, set boundaries, and put yourself first.
Remember, walking away from something that's not working isn't weak, it's strong.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope Jessica's story got you thinking about communication boundaries and self-respect in your own relationships. Until next time.